it's not going on right now, but there's a lot to talk about because sports world never really stops. So if you're tuning in to hear a message of gloom and doom and despair and excessive misery, like the old hee-haw or whatever that was, this ain't the show, man. We're ready to get going and say our prayers for everybody out there. And with the fighting this thing, somebody's going to find a vaccine, and we're going to talk sports and get away from it for the next couple of hours. And we're going to go straight to Chicago with one of our contributors, Jimmy Hodge, and talk a little what's going on with the SEC basketball, the NCAA, and all the college sports. Jimmy, welcome to the show. Hey, this is an interesting time. I don't think anyone was really expecting for the NCAA to make an announcement like they did yesterday and just call off the whole basketball tournament. Were you expecting anything like that? Yeah. Yeah, it was the Utah Jazz, and then one of my teammates, was tested positive as well. So, but the NBA it looks like they're going to postpone for a couple of weeks, or maybe 30. No, it's 30 days, and then go back and say, okay, here's where we are, and possibly continue the season. Let's go to college basketball. The SEC commissioner, Greg Sankey, was caught off guard, and I'm sure a lot of others were, when Mark Emmert, the head of the NCAA, said, we're canceling the NCAA men's basketball tournament. No March Madness. Do you think there's any chance that they'll go back on that in 2 weeks or 4 weeks like the NBA is doing and revisit it because of the possibility, and there's also billions of dollars. We want people's health first, but also we can't shut the country down. You think they'll go back and there's a possibility the NCAA would reverse course? Yeah. That's right. Yeah, there's a possibility too that maybe the Power Five conferences might say we've had enough, and this could be the beginning of the breakup between the NCAA and the Power Five conferences, because who's going to replace the lost revenue and income from this? I mean, something will come out of this. Might be some good come out of it, but the NCAA does not always put the best interest of everyone they say they do first and foremost. They're very prejudicial in how they dole out punishment too. There's a lot of times they say they're going to do something and they don't do it, or they do something completely different. So this is important. Well, Jimmy, let's look ahead now. College baseball, all these different sports. Spring practice. Alabama's supposed to start spring practice today. All right. What are they? They still haven't made an announcement. There's a lot of possible scenarios that may shake out. That Auburn and Alabama, I know, are closed for the next 30 days, and they'll be doing online courses. All right. So you don't have the fans there at the games. Again, everyone seems to be getting in line saying, look what we did. We canceled this, or we canceled that, or we're going to cancel everything. What's the next step? Yeah. And that's amazing. Yeah. And, you just realize how important sports are. Granted, there are things in life bigger than sports. We know that. I'm not going to get into trying to repeat all the cliches that are being repeated ad nauseum. Okay, sports are big. They are a distraction from everyday life, but they also are reality TV in its greatest format. There's nothing better than real sports. Jimmy, what are the now? Let's look at, say, spring practice in football. What happens if Auburn, Alabama, none of the schools were able to have spring practice? We know that Michigan fired the shot over the bow when they said they were canceling Amazing Gold, their spring game. Okay, but long term, not having spring practice isn't the end of the world. But then again, there's so much interest in these programs; it's still going to be there. Now there's going to be even more interest of what's going on and who's working behind the scenes privately. I think, Jimmy, that's really going to pique a lot of people's interest. And this is exciting, being on the air talking about it, but the interest isn't going to go anywhere but up. Yeah. Yeah, and there's so much that goes on in spring practice. What we'd like to know, and I guess as we go on into the show, and Jimmy, I want to bring you in later on in the show. I wanted to kick off, but I've got some other stuff I want to get into later. What I want to do later in the show, I want you to be back on, is I want to talk about all the players coming in, what can they possibly do on their own, and you know, we're going to be speculating a lot, but these guys are competitive. Everybody's a competitor, you know. So there's going to be a lot probably going on behind the scenes, and the great thing about it is we're going to have people on that might be able to tell us. But Jimmy, I'm going to call you back later in the show, have you back on and finish. We're going to go to a guest, Chef Roger, who joins us a lot after this commercial break. Jimmy, talking a little bit about he being, of course, from Manchester, England. He wants to talk a little about the Gypsy King, winning that big boxing match a couple of weeks ago against Deontay Wilder out of Tuscaloosa, and also a cookbook he's going to be doing, and an offer for listeners to our Sidelines radio show. And Jimmy Roger worked for Gordon Ramsay over in London for 8 years, and best chef I've ever eaten from. And we're going to talk about that. So I'll be calling you back between 4:30 and 5 to talk some more. And Tommy Tuberville is going to try to join us in that time, time permitting. Of course, he's got a runoff in the middle of all this, March 31st, down with Jeff Sessions in Alabama. So, Jimmy, we'll call you back here in the next hour. Let's take a quick commercial break here on Sidelines, and we're going to be back with Chef Roger. And Roger is going to be talking about that new cookbook and a special offer for Sidelines listeners. Little Irish music, folks. In the middle of all this, you do know, Shane knows it, because he had on his Irish top hat and his derby when I came in today. St. Patrick's Day is still March 17th. That is Tuesday. We'll be right back. This is Sidelines. He wants to put in call 452. It's kind of humming, right? Hey, man! Don't lose your head. Use your head.
What's that? Is he supposed to be calling? Is he calling in?
Yeah. Okay. All righty, man. Sidelines here with you. Chef Roger Watson is going to be calling us here in just a few minutes. He is from Manchester, England. Huge fan of Tyson Fury, a.k.a. the Gypsy King. Those of you that have color television sets, and Shane, Aubrey and I got one last weekend. It's going to be exciting to watch this weekend. Color TV. He put just a serious hurting on Deontay Wilder. And Roger was in tears. He said, "This is the greatest moment of my professional life since accepting a job as a 17-year-old in the kitchen of Gordon Ramsay." And Chef Roger, welcome to the show. And before you, what I want to do, I want you to talk about a cookbook you're coming out with, because we got a lot of people that listen to Sidelines, go to the website from all over the country, and your recipes, I'm telling you, are off the charts. There's no better chef on earth, other than your boss, Gordon Ramsay, than Chef Roger Watson of Manchester, England. Welcome to the show. All righty. Absolutely, Roger. Let's give them a little tease here. One of them that you made for me last year, and it was so good. I mean, I could have sat in the electric chair and been happy. East London meat pie. Good God, you can do it with venison or anything, can't you? Yeah. Roger, it's there's nothing. It is absolutely incredible. That cookbook about 3 months from now coming out, and we're going to have you back on between now and then several times to talk about it. Meantime, let's talk about that boxing match a few weeks ago. The Gypsy King, is he 8 feet tall, 450 pounds, and blows smoke out of his ears? This guy's like Superman, and he didn't beat some tomato can. He beat a real fighter. Yeah, he's 40-0, isn't he? Yeah. Let me ask you, Roger. Yeah, Roger, you told me about these bare knuckle matches they have over there in England, and everybody knows about the Gypsies, the Irish travelers. We have them in Memphis, all over America, but this is in Manchester, England. And how big a deal? How big is Tyson Fury in the UK? Mm-hmm. Good gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been a heavyweight fight or two heavyweight fighters that good in a long time. I mean, Mike Tyson was so dominant that most of the people that he got in the ring with were just splattered like busting a tomato can on the pavement. But Tyson's a big guy. You're right. And wasn't Tyson Fury named after Mike Tyson? Wow. Well, hey, this is going to be. You're saying July is the next fight, most likely. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be. We're going to be talking about that one too. Well, hey, listen, let's go to something else now. You're a big Ole Miss fan. Obviously, Lane Kiffin's the head coach down there. We're all wondering, okay, spring practice, is it on hold? It's going to be postponed. What are they going to do? But Ole Miss, I think it's a good hire. I think it's potentially could be a great hire because Lane Kiffin is one of the, in my opinion, three best quarterback coaches in America. The other two are Dan Mullen and Mike Leach. And he's got some talent there at Ole Miss. You've got a couple of Ole Miss guys that you know up in Indianapolis. Tell us about them. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah. Well, you know, Chad Kelly was amazing. He had 12 300-plus yard passing games in 2 years at Ole Miss. And the victory on the road in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, beat Bama in Tuscaloosa. And I think the last time they'd beaten Alabama there was 1988 with, yes. Yeah, that was funny. Hey, look, right now we don't have live football. We don't spring practice. We don't have basketball, baseball, anything. Now's a great time to pull out and dust off the DVDs, the highlight videos of your favorite team, and we're going to get into our own March Madness on here, and maybe even play around with who do you think would have won this game or that game, or who do you think would have won the national championship. But Roger, let me ask you something. You're a professional chef. You trained under basically the best known chef in the world, who was tough as nails and still is to work for, but he demands excellence. And we got a lot of listeners that play sports, we have callers that are guest coaches, athletes, and whatever. Tell me this. There's diets we hear about all the time. You've lost a lot of weight. You work out every day. What do you say to our listeners, some of whom right now might be wolfing down a 2-pound burger, drinking a 32-ounce road soda, or eating a slab of ribs? Nothing wrong with that, I might add. But how important is diet to everything? I mean, is it more than 60, 70%? Yeah. Yeah. Roger, yeah, and I think that in order to be able to enjoy the tailgate experience, whether it's at the Grove, at Ole Miss, or wherever you are, you got to pay the price. So you better be working out a lot so you can enjoy those Saturdays, because I mean it's just a lot of fun. But You know, Roger, looking around right now, there have been a lot of changes. Coaches, you've got a new coach at Arkansas, a new coach at Mississippi State, and you know, I will say this: that Missouri's got a new coach, but what's going on in the state of Mississippi? Mike Leach in Starkville, Lane Kiffin in Oxford. Man, there's going to be a lot of attention focused on both of these. But I share your optimism. I mean, Lane Kiffin's got to continue to recruit, but the transfer portal guys, wow, the transfer portal can really shift the pendulum quickly. And I think Kiffin, from what I hear, is really being aggressive. Him and his staff with players. It's, hey, if you're not happy, come on. That's been going on forever, but it's just easier to identify those guys. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see. When Roger, let me say this. 3 months, that cookbook's coming out. Will you do us a favor? Will you send us a transcript of a really cool recipe that people could try out? I'm not putting you on the spot. Just think about it, and we'll put it up on the website later tonight for St. Patrick's Day. We need some good news here in America, and we need the luck of the Irish for sure. Hey, all right, and tell you what else. If you get a chance, you can come down here and meet the people and maybe do a book signing for folks, because that cookbook. And let's think of the name. You hadn't come up with a name for it yet, but yeah. And I'm looking forward to having you back on here. I'm drooling talking about it, Roger. This is exciting. This is it. Never. Hey, Roger, have a great weekend up there in Indy. And we will be in touch with you here in the next few weeks. And call in, check out the website. But most of all, you're going to put a little recipe up on the website from Chef Roger Watson. Thank you so much for being on the show. And we're going to be right back with Sonny Smith is going to try to join us here, color analyst on the Auburn Basketball Network, and talk about, hey, college basketball right now, it's not going to be in the SEC tournament. No NCAA tournament, but we never stop talking about it. We are Sidelines. We'll be right back. Okay.
10 minutes, Rob.
All right, 10 minutes.
He's calling now.
right, Rob Brown back here with you on Sidelines, and we're going to be joined here for a few minutes. I know he's got a tight schedule right now. Sonny Smith, former basketball coach at Auburn, East Tennessee State, Virginia Commonwealth, and right now at home, like a lot of fans, wishing the SEC basketball tournament was going to be played. And but hey, brighter days are ahead. And Coach, welcome to the show. And what was the attitude of everybody, just among the folks in Nashville, and I guess not just the Auburn people, but everybody else about the cancellation? Sure. Yeah, I mean, Coach, you've been around basketball all your life, and you work so hard to have these moments. And look, we want this. We understand there are things in life bigger than sports. We know that. Like I said, I don't want to be cliches, but all that aside, this is something that they'll never forget. And the only thing I can compare it to is 1980, the Summer Olympics. One of my heroes, Rowdy Gaines, in 1980 couldn't go to the Olympics in Moscow because we boycotted them, and we just were like, wow, no Olympics. That's how I feel right now. It is, and you know what, Coach? You're from Lone Mountain, Tennessee. We're still working on GPS in Lone Mountain, but I think about just last week was just awesome. You're talking about the Grand Ole Opry, and you got to be on stage with Jerry Clower, and just this SEC family is incredible. Yeah, we want to whip each other, and there's no question about it. I mean, you know it, I know, we all know it, but stuff like this happens. It reminds you when you're going to the tournament, the relationships, these friendships that you've built over the years. And, you know, and I'll say this, I remember watching at Auburn on a Friday night, November of '06. Auburn was playing Arkansas State the next day. Faulkner State, I believe, was playing Auburn in an exhibition game early in November. And sitting on the sidelines in the chair was Wimp Sanderson, your buddy, former Alabama coach. And Auburn people were lined up as far as you could see him to shake his hand, hug him, get a picture with him. And the Alabama people feel the same way that I know about you. And that says so much about y'all's character. Yeah, I've seen Amen. God. Yeah, yeah. No, and Coach, I've got one of my callers, and she's a great guest on here, Phyllis from down in Birmingham. Everybody knows she's a big Alabama fan, but she's one of the kindest, sweetest people I've ever talked to from there in Birmingham. She loves Alabama, but she also is, she raved about Pat Sullivan. She was Catholic educated like he was, and there's so many relationships that cross over. That's why that rivalry is so important. Hell, I have two older sisters, man. I am so competitive with them still to this day. And you know how that goes. And we're family. And it's so much fun. That's why these games mean so much. And one last question, Coach. Now we're gonna go off, and there's no telling if the NCAA. I asked one of my callers, Jimmy from Chicago, first of the show, would the NCAA walk back on that decision to postpone or to cancel March Madness? And do you think there's any chance they would do it? Yes. Okay. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Well, Coach, I know you got to go. You limited time today, but just hearing your voice, we want to have you back on. Continue to have you on because we love basketball. There's so much interest in it, but the SEC. This was going to be a fun tournament, and we can think about what might or might not have happened, whatever. But I think right now, we need to all pull together and remember we're all on the same team, trying to walk each other home and say our prayers. And Coach, thank hey, man, thank you so much. Okay, thanks so much. All right, let's take a quick commercial break, man. Here in Sonny Smith Talk is I wasn't alive as a kid here in the old FDR fireside chats, but knowing Coach Smith and watching him all my life growing up as a coach, and hearing him talking about being on the Grand Ole Opry stage with Jerry Clower, God, I would love to see that video. We're going to be all right, folks, and we're going to be right back with Ben Clinton, our SEC and baseball, youth baseball, Major League Baseball. This guy is as important to this show, like I said, as John Bonham was to Led Zeppelin. We just want his lifespan to be a lot longer. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna walk out.
That's what I've been doing.
All
Got Clinton on.
okay. All right, man. I tell you what, that is the what Stephen and the Seagulls. That's a good band, interesting band. And Ben Clanton, SEC baseball, youth baseball, Major League Baseball. Hey, game on right now. No, the SEC is shut her down, and that's kind of a shocker. But there's tons of baseball to be played out there, Ben. And I want to talk about the youth baseball, how important that is to development of the game. But give your thoughts on all this. Hey, give these guys another year and what that could do to the draft, seniors in high school, and all that. Because I heard you earlier today, and you made some great points, and now everybody else needs to hear them. Yeah, it is going to be really interesting to watch what these guys do in the spring. I mean, I read where some of them are going to practice on their own. Uh, basketball, like Sonny Smith was on just before you said, I can understand why they had to do it, but it's just gut wrenching for these players because he's been around the game all his life, just like you with baseball, and you see the sacrifice that these guys make, and it's really hard. Let's turn back to dial now. Youth baseball, that's alive and kicking right now, not just here in the Memphis area, but all over the country. We don't have these great SEC baseball venues with these great players without these youth programs like Germantown. They've got a great Germantown Youth Baseball League. talked about the importance of those, and I think a lot of people are going to start focusing their attention on that. No. How would people find out about him? Okay. Yeah, how many games the kids in second or third, fourth grade on a competitive team are they likely to play in a season? Yeah, and because you, yeah. Well, you're big, and I think that's all we did as kids growing up. You were outside. Parents had to hunt you down. Now, a lot of times, parents have to force the kids out. We've got television, public service announcements. Get your 60 minutes a day of doing something. And that's why, this is an opportunity with what's going on right now. Hey, baseball, it's getting better, it's getting stronger, the interest is going up. All right, let's now fast track ahead, skip the college right now, go to the majors, minors and the majors. Opening day looks like it's going to be pushed back. Are they going to reduce the schedule? There are 162 regular season games. You got a lot of preseason games and all the training, towns, all the spring ball out in Arizona and Florida, whatever. But positive or negative effect, or you think maybe having a few less games might be a help? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I'm seeing too, a lot of the SEC schools are bringing back major leaguers. I mean, Tim Hudson, Gabe Gross, both on the staff at Auburn, Mississippi State. They have such a theirs is a culture. I mean, basically, any coaches that you bring into Starkville, they're going to be successful. And Ole Miss, they were 16-1 on a really good-looking team in Florida, Georgia, LSU. LSU, they may start off slow, but they're like Kentucky at tournament time. They're in basketball. They're going to be there. But looking at the majors, we got opening day again. It's going to be pushed back, but right now, if those guys in the training camps, if they're not allowed to practice and whatever, how much does that hurt their development? But they can go do things on their own, I mean, obviously they can, but can they do things that'll help them be ready for the opening day? Okay. Yeah. All right, let's make a comparison. Let's look at the pitchers and the relievers from 35, 40 years ago to what we have out there today. Better, about the same, or not even close? Oh, that's it. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. God. I mean, and you look around, you got 14 schools in the SEC. Last year, everybody got about $45 million from the conference office as part of the revenue sharing plan. Vanderbilt, who spends less money on athletics than anybody in the SEC, maybe that's true. I mean, they're a private university; they don't have to tell us anything. But it really doesn't take that much to have a great baseball program. It takes great recruiters who know how to find players and develop them, doesn't it? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Kumar Rocker. I mean, and one last thing, this year, like right now, he'll he's not going to go into mothballs tomorrow. Rocker and Al Lighters and all these players, they're going to be continuing to throw and all like that. And I'm sure you don't have elite programs like that and then just shut down. All right, this weekend, last question. Best advice for parents on a weekend like this? Not going to be a whole lot to watch on sports, reruns, all that kind of stuff. Taking your kids to the batting cage, taking them out there. What do you want to hit them with at first? Just ease into it, or get them out there with some fast-paced stuff? What do you like to recommend? Because a lot of people are going to be looking for things to do this weekend, and while we're going through all this, baseball, I used to go to the batting cage. Man, you hit so many balls, your arms would fall off. It was fun, though. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah, catch it. Yeah, I agree. Repetition is the mother of all skill, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, Ben, thank you so much. Have a great weekend and great advice. And I know we have a lot of people who will go back and listen to these podcasts on the web and look it up. But I love the pizza dough reference, and I'll be seeing the big guy Spencer this weekend up there getting some of that good food at High Point. Hey, thanks so much. All right, real quick, want to say something about our sponsors. Duncan Williams Asset Management is our title sponsor. Since 1969, they have been here in Memphis, making Memphis a stronger and better place. Check out their website, Duncan Williams Asset Management on the Sidelines.live website. Also, Rocky's Alterations, 1866 Poplar Crest Cove, right behind the Mecca Eye Care on Poplar, just before you get to Kirby if you're going east. Men's and women's alterations, sport coats, blazers, slacks, dress pants, dress shirts. They got it all. The needle and thread can be used. Rocky, this is the nephew of Richard Capadia. You all know him from Joseph A. Banks and Kirby Woods Cared For. Rocky's Alterations, 1866 Poplar Crest Cove, right across the street from another one of our sponsors, Pimentos and Holiday Ham. Now, Pimentos is at, I'm going to tell you right now, they are as good as it gets. Two locations, 6450 Poplar Avenue, 3751 South Houston Levee in Collierville. They've got margarita Mondays, quesadillas, beer and burgers on Tuesdays. They've got wings. They've got salads. They've got a great catering. Anything you want catering, they can cover it all. Any size up to thousands of people. That is Pimentos, okay? Check them out. Two locations and all the Holiday Ham locations as well. They are sponsors of Sidelines, and I'm eating the Pimento Cheese of the Month Italian. It is awesome. I'm having a pimento cheese wrap. Also, some of their tuna fish. That's as good as Mimi, my grandmother's tuna fish I used to eat as a kid. We'll be right back with Bob Kessling. This is Sidelines. All right, back here on Sidelines, Rob Brown here with you till 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock on the East. And from Knoxville, Bob Kessling, the voice of the Tennessee Volunteers, is joining us. And Bob, we had Sonny Smith on about 30 minutes ago, and he's sad like we all are. We understand the situation, the severity of it, but I think we all wish we were in Nashville. And that's what we talked with Sonny Smith about. I compared it, and you remember this, in 1980 when the U.S. boycotted the Olympics in Moscow, and so many great athletes, a lot of them from the SEC schools, did not get to participate. It was a really empty feeling, and it is surreal. I mean, reality is stranger than fiction. That's right. When you were up in Nashville, and I think Greg Sankey was a little surprised from what I've read that this came down, shutting down the NCAA men's tournament, March Madness, billions of dollars in revenue at stake there. But the Power Five conferences, you know, there's a lot of people saying maybe this will be start the, you know, they'll pull away and just do their own thing. But even if that were the case, given the circumstances with the World Health, you know, pandemic, would the results probably be the same? Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And like Sonny Smith was saying, and you know this as being part of the SEC family, you've been around it a long time. You did television. By the way, what years were you doing television? You were really good doing those football games. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, thousands. Yeah. Good. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. That's another thing is looking ahead. All the TV time, ESPN, SEC Network. Uh, the volunteer network. All the different schools have their sports radio networks. What's going to be done filling that time? And the fans, I think I read a great quote from Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover. They said, sometimes I've complained to myself, hey, I'm worn out from going out game after game after game, and all of a sudden it's snatched out from under us. The SEC tournament's gone. You realize, and I can say this as a fan. I'm an Auburn fan, but my wife's a Tennessee fan. When these schools in the league are suffering, and you start going, what makes this mean so much is they're so damn good, and it means something to beat a Tennessee team or Alabama or Ole Miss or whoever it is. And then all the fans get up here. It's like a big reunion, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. Yes.
$50.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And I think, not that we need it, but if you ever wonder how much these sports and these rivalries and all this mean, look at it. There are a lot of people who have the 1,000-yard blank stare. I mean, it's depressing in a way, but listening to you on the radio here talking, I mean, you bring that electricity, the voice of the volunteers, and all the different radio networks. I mean, we've become accustomed to hearing those, and they're part of our culture. But I'd love to have you back on next week. We'll see where things are. Hope things are better. Hey, we got St. Patrick's Day coming up Tuesday. Everybody may have to celebrate at home alone, but got better days ahead. But I'd like to get your thoughts next week on where we're going and what you think the long-term effects will be on all this stuff, because there's just the interest just gets stronger and stronger. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. You bet. All right, we're going to go now with Darlene over in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Another one of our callers. Darlene, you're a big Alabama fan, but I think right now it'd be fair to say you're a big SEC fan, and it is. This just talking to Bob Kessling, the voice of the Tennessee Vols. And I grew up listening to John Ward, Bob Kessling, TV, radio. He's such a pro. And, every one of these, if it's Eli Gold with Alabama, whoever it is, I grew up listening to Kaywood Ledford of Kentucky and Ralph Hacker. But there's just nothing like this SEC family that we have. And I think we're all pretty sad right now. And, hey, spring practice. This is just, it's our culture. It's who we are. Yes, they do. Let me ask you something, Darlene. I'll give you an example. A local high school here in Memphis back in 2001, MUS, Memphis University School, stopped having spring practice. And I think they recommended strongly that the athletes play either lacrosse or participate in track and field or both. Since then, they've won 4 state championships. I think they've been runner-up 2 or 3 times. That's pretty amazing. I think it just shows the benefits of cross-training. But athletes have got to maintain and continue to build. I hope that the rest of the SEC is doing the same thing, postponing we know that they go all summer, but in college, it's really important that they get those reps out there, especially for all the kids that graduated from high school in December and enrolled early in January. Correct? You don't give them direction. Why'd they graduate early? No, they didn't go. I mean, hey, there's another. Yeah. Yeah, and again, we don't have the elite football programs in the Southeastern Conference by accident. I mean, call it a process, as Nick Saban refers to it so often, but it's a cultural, it's just a way of life down here. Hard work works. I would hate to see some ruling that says there can be no athletic activity of any kind. I think the worst thing we could do in the country would be to shut down, you know, churches, synagogues, whatever, mosques, gyms. People, you gotta have that. You know, the fans. I mean, again, Darlene, you and I and all of us, we're gonna turn on the color TV this weekend, and I'm not gonna sit there and get punched in the face by the news every hour of every day. It is, and it just, look, I've always said that if Meet the Press were around when the light bulb was invented, they would have lamented the death of the candle. And, good grief. And that's where we are. So sports are big. My wife Audrey keeps saying, hey, this might be the best thing to happen to NASCAR. But what's the latest on that? And I think, yeah, but you live in North Carolina. There's a little bit of interest in NASCAR in that state, correct? Yeah, that's yeah. Well, people we're just accustomed to it, and a friend of mine said that the only true reality TV that we have is sports because it's as real as it gets. And sometimes you might say, "Oh, I'm not going to watch this game." Man, who out there among us wouldn't give about anything right now to see a live sporting event? They do. They do. Yeah, and I don't know if you were listening. We had Sonny Smith on earlier, and Bob Kessling, the voice of the Volunteers. They've all been up in Nashville, and it's really a big family reunion. The SEC is family. This conference, again, look around the country. You'll never hear 100,000 fans in a stadium saying Pac-12, Pac-12, but you'll hear them saying SEC, 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 and yeah. You're right, and we're Scotch Irish. We're Celts down here, man. Come on. I mean, we've been fighting since we crossed the English Channel in 1066, the Battle of Hastings with William the Conqueror, or as they used to call him in my Alabama history class, Billy the Kick Butt. You know what? But I think it does mean it means so much to us down here now. But we're Americans. We always find a way to figure this out. I mean, this, you can just imagine the medical schools, vet schools, research laboratories all over the country, around the world, 24/7, pedal to the metal, trying to find a vaccine. And we know, of course, there are things, yeah, a lot of things bigger than sports, but sports, call them a distraction or whatever. I believe it is. It's reality TV at its best, because you see people overcoming tremendous odds that come from humble backgrounds, beginnings. They rise to the top. They may talk funny, as Keith Jackson said one time about these coaches down south, like Coach Bryant, Coach Dye, and Coach Dooley. He said, but they don't think funny. And they can bring a crowd of 90,000 people to their feet that'll shake the windows and rattle people's house, the furniture, and bring people to tears. That's the passion that we have here. Oh, I was there on the 50. Yeah, I was there in 1988 at the earthquake game in Baton Rouge. And the whole game, I kept saying, Auburn really needs another field goal at least, hopefully a touchdown for insurance. And man, Tommy Hudson threw that ball, and the earth did move, and I moved. I like to talk a lot, but I was speechless after that game. Shaking hands after the game, the LSU fans were ones around me were fine. I mean, but look, Auburn had 60 minutes, didn't get it done. But one of the things I think we're going to be doing, Darlene, is reflecting back on what's happened so far this year, and that'll get us through this. I mean, but look, we know what's going on in the world. When you're on this show, we're not going to be whining, complaining. Fear sells on TV. Okay, uh, fear is not a strategy that's going to do well for you in life. Let's look around in the SEC, around the whole country. All these athletes right now, you can't tell competitors to just sit. What's your gut feeling on the spring practice and all these spring sports? Do you think there's going to be a lot of people working out on their own? Yeah. 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 And I mean, look. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Darlene, listen, here in Memphis, Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers, they were going to try to win their way into the NCAA tournament by having a great American Athletic Conference tournament, spring football at Memphis. There's so much interest on that here. It's not just SEC. Again, I love the University of Memphis. I want to see them be successful. We cannot let this take away all the progress that we've made. And man, you got to be back on here with us again next week. You are an optimist. You're a thinker. More than anything, you're a great visionary, Darlene. And we need it. Get Coach Saban on the show with us next time, okay? Hey, all right. Hey, Darlene, keep listening. We're going to have Tommy Tuberville on after the break, talking a little college football and what's going on out there. We'll be right back. You're listening to Sidelines. Yeah, we're facing commercial breakfast, but we usually for those commercial. Yeah, but hey, listen. This yeah, because the man's what about the team, show, okay? Oh, okay, you're not there? Okay. I tell you what, that's some good music right there. Audrey picked it out, and Snakeskin Cowboy. Ted Nugent takes off St. Patrick's Day this weekend, but Snakeskin will be back with us next week, and we're going to be joined here in just a moment by Coach Tommy Tuberville in a battle for the U.S. Senate seat in Alabama. The runoff is coming up March 31st, and wow, a lot going on in the world with the Wuhan, China coronavirus. We got that, and shutting down a lot of the SEC sports, and again, there are things in life bigger than sports, but we're getting the perspective from people who really can offer insight and knowledge and experience like nobody else. And Coach Tommy Tuberville, welcome to the show, and give us an update on how the campaign is going, and then we're going to talk about everything else going on. Yeah. Right, and you're out there on the campaign trail right now, seeing it. And, fans everywhere. I've had Sonny Smith was on with us earlier. Bob Kessling, the voice of the Tennessee Vols. Fans of different schools, sports. Players, coaches you talk to. It's sad. I mean, this group down here in the SEC and the South. I live here in Memphis, man. I'm a big Memphis Tiger fan. Their fans are have the blues, no pun intended, their colors, but they were trying to play their way into the NCAA tournament, and you just if you ever doubted, Coach, how important sports are, and it's not the most important thing in the world, but it is true reality TV because you see people overcome odds that they weren't given a chance, and they rise to the top, and it changes their lives as well as all those people's lives around them. And then you think about the coaches who, and you've said this before, this campaign is like recruiting on steroids. People don't normally have an appreciation for what it takes to build a champion, do they? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Let's look at now at the NCAA. And there's differing opinions. They had to do it because of liability alone, but also the health and well-being of the student athletes. But I'm with you. Push it back and then go back and revisit it. Do you think with the NCAA, Mark Emmert made that decision, and the SEC's Commissioner Greg Sankey seemed a bit surprised when but he answered the question. Man, you gotta love him. And he did the right thing. He took every question asked of him. Could this be the beginning, maybe, of the Power Five conferences getting really serious about going another direction? Because the NCAA doesn't make money off of football; they make it off of basketball. Now, what are they going to do? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. 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 Well, Coach, I looked up the COVID-19. There have been 18, I guess, coronaviruses prior to this one, and they come from animals. The MERS, MERS, came from dromedary camels in the Middle East, so it's a lot. But let's talk now. Look at football. Alabama announced a few hours ago they're going to postpone indefinitely spring practice. I don't know what Auburn's going to do in the rest of the SEC. From your perspective, and you're going to be in the Hall of Fame at one point eventually when if you're not a senator, they're going to put you in there. You know what you're talking about on this subject. How important is spring practice, and what's the latest date possible you think they could have spring practice? Because you got to remember, some guys might get injured, and then you shorten their recovery before fall practice gets here. There's so much at stake. You know a lot more than I do. What would you be recommending? Okay. Yeah. It seems like there's 25 or 30 people at the NCAA headquarters. They're not a lot. I'll say, trying to cover the whole country. This decision, Mark Emmert, the head of the NCAA, was released through some prepared statements. And again, it seemed like it caught some people, the SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, off guard. Um, it's just, again, you just realize when you don't have these sports how special they are, and that's why we get so attached to the different schools. And you're seeing it in Alabama. You were the Auburn coach for 10 years, but you got Auburn and Alabama people pulling for you, don't you? Yeah, you just nailed it. I know you got to go, but we got to have leadership. That's what we've got to have. And when you were coaching at Auburn, you were in charge. There wasn't any question. We've got to have more of that in leadership of the NCAA and what's going on. Again, the protection of the American people and the student athletes, and that's number one. Now let's go back in a few weeks and review. Hopefully things are a lot better. But Coach, call us again next week. That's I love that insight. What you said makes me feel a lot better because you won a lot of games. You've been mentored by some of the best in the business, like Jimmy Johnson and Dennis Erickson. But more than anything, you shed a lot of common sense on a problem and where people's heads are spinning right now. And I think people listening would agree with me. We feel a lot better after having you on here. How do people follow you on the campaign if they want to support you? I know you got to go, but how do they do that? We need leaders. The pride of Camden, Arkansas. Tommy Tuberville joined us just now, and look forward to having him on next week. We'll be right back. We're going to pick back up with Jimmy Hodge from Chicago to close out the show. This is Sidelines. No. No. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I love that music here. Jimmy, I don't know who, Audrey is just one heck of a, she would have given Colonel Tom Parker or Sam Phillips a run for their money in their day. And I want to say something real quick, Jimmy, before we get back about our sponsors. Rocky's Alterations, 1866 Poplar Crest Code, behind Mecca Eye Care. Men's and women's alterations, man, they can fix anything. They fixed some of my old hunting gear that's 25, 30 years old. Great selection of sport coats, blazers, suits, dress pants, dress shirts. They've got ties. They've got it all at Rocky's Alterations, 1866 Poplar Fresco, across the street from Pimentos. And don't know holiday ham since 1993. Don and his son Trey Jordan started right there at the old Poplar and Perkins location. Best pimento cheese you will ever find. They've also got great tuna fish. They've got wings, burgers. The burgers on the sourdough sweetbread are incredible. Try the fried burger with French fries piled on it. Look, man, you got to eat no matter what's going on in the world. Go to Pimentos, 6450 Poplar Avenue and 3751 South Houston Levee in Collierville. Open every day of the week till 9 o'clock. Full patio. They're putting in a complete bar there at the 6450 Poplar location. Great place to go hang out. Keep your distance, of course, in these times. But it is a great place. They've got great staff, some of the best employees you'll find anywhere. They're motivated. They love what they do. Pimentos, check them out on the website. Open every day of the week till 9 p.m. Great catering for any occasion that you've got. You need to call them up. They've got a taco bar second to none. And also, we want to thank our title sponsor, Duncan Williams Asset Management. Since 1969, Duncan Williams has been on the scene in Memphis. They make Memphis and this whole country a better place. Check them out, DWAM, on our Sidelines.lab website. That's Duncan Williams Asset Management, our title sponsor here on Sidelines. And Jimmy, I want to get back to you when we were talking earlier about everything going on in all the sports. You've had a chance to hear from Sonny Smith, Auburn color analyst, Hall of Fame basketball coach, Bob Kessling, the voice of all, Coach Tommy Tuberville. They're all in agreement with us. Very sad. Wish they could revisit this in 2 or 4 weeks. Hopefully things will be better here in America and around the world. But, man, it just fires me up even more for the next game. How about you? Yeah. What percentage was that again? Yeah, because they don't make money off of football at all. Yeah, check the. Yeah, and I guess to go back to 1984 when Georgia and Oklahoma sued the NCAA and the CFA, the College Football Association. That's when the mass explosion of television, every college football game now is on television, based on that lawsuit. And let's ask this question again: the Power Five conferences, those Power Five schools, in the NCAA, they go at it pretty regularly. I mean, you know, they I don't think they're the best of friends. Money, there's so much money at stake, and keeping more of your money is important. And when you're giving your money to the NCAA, and then they're issuing this mandate from Mark Emmert without any consultation with the conferences. But again, we know the health and welfare of the American people is number one priority of the president and the student athletes and the fans. We understand that. I speak for, I think, a lot of people, Jimmy. Can't they go back and revisit this in 2 weeks or 4 weeks? And I'm being optimistic. Hopefully things will be a lot better. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a term called neuroplasticity. If you can continue to tell yourself every hour, every day, that things are bad, life sucks, and that you're a loser, that's pretty much what you'll be. You know, life is a choice. You're never going to get anything accomplished laying on your butt, laying on your back in the bed